Doug, do you have any questions or anything? You pretty much ready to?
What's something good about Crosby? I mean, basically all I have right now is that like the sim likes him the most in terms of he's a high frequency player. What the fuck is? Oh man, I'm about to fucking freak. This bullshit fucking R code. Yeah, highest frequency player. Man, I don't even know what the fuck I'm saying. Yeah, why is Crosby a good play at such a high price? I guess I can just say that the sim likes him the best out of all the top price centers.
EJ, would you like to cover that? Because I'm not gonna talk about Crosby and then tell you why he's a good play, because I'm gonna say why I don't like Crosby that much. Because
why don't you two just do exactly what you just did? And like one of you can argue one side and one can argue the other. Why do I have to get involved?
Okay.
I mean, I'm more thinking if you got to make a case for one of the top centers. I know Matt's view is that we don't play any. I feel like we're wasting a lot of good content right now.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. Let's get started. Jesus Christ. You just keep bringing up awesome points, and we're just sitting here like, all right, well, hold on. Before we start, let me bring up one more thing that we should talk about in the podcast in 1 second.
All right. Are we sure there's no other cheap guys that you?
Who's this? Who's this? Oscar Sundquist, 2,500 center playing on the third line.
Oh.
He was part of one of the trades.
I mean, he's not playing on the power play, but even at basement level projections, he's still a good value. Like,
yeah, I want to say Paige Thompson is he 3K? Paige Thompson is 2.5, playing on that same line, and he should get power play time.
Power play too, yeah.
I'm only looking at centers more than.
Oh no, Paige Thompson's the center too, 2.5.
Yeah, he's 2.5. Power play too.
Take what you said, Doug, and just apply it to Paige Thompson because he's playing power play.
Yeah, let me look.
Allegedly.
Oh, he's listed as a winger.
College
he's
hockey,
listed as a winger on Fantasy Lab. Tage.
Oh,
that's correct.
He's a center on track.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, he was in college, so it's like hard to really probably can't scrape too much data from what he did.
Yeah. I will mention a site during the show though. Prospect-stats.com. That's really cool. I'm pretty sure, Doug, if you are looking for something to play around with, that's a really nice site that was designed for like not necessarily designed for scraping, but like for looking at OHL, AHL like shots and stuff, because that's not readily available on their actual website.
I didn't know that was anywhere.
I didn't even know this site existed until you just said it.
All right, start the pod before we give away any more crucial information.
I know, Jesus.
That the other fellow members of the pod didn't know. What we need to do is just cut together all this stuff that we talked about at the beginning and just make it part of the pod.
I just want you to have it typed in so that like you don't sit there and go, the prospects what?
Okay, listen.
Dash what?
Next time I don't have a test before this, I can probably get more information together, but I just had a test before we did this.
I am just saying I would rather be prepared before we start than just starting and then going like, all right, well, here's this, and this, and we go, what? Wait, what? That doesn't do anyone any good, so.
We're good.
When, why, and how?
Okay, I'm going to leave some silence, and then I will bring us in. So.
What is silence?
You need the silence to filter out the noise, Doug.
No, I was just meant, what is silence? We don't do that here.
Oh my God, we're never going to start.
3, 2, 1. Hello and welcome to the opening night edition of the Morning Skate Podcast. I am Matt Moody, joined by my good friends Doug Levy and EJ Mitchell to preview the beginning of what should be a really fun season. Doug, you're laughing over there. What's going on?
I just think it's funny. It's such disdain in your voice over talking about us as if we were your friends. But
yeah,
I'll allow it just this once. But I am super excited for the season to start. I'm super excited that I will actually have projections on the first day of this season, unlike last year. And I'm excited to start giving my money back to DraftKings in increments of 25 cents.
Hey, well, I guess, EJ, do you want to say hi before I launch right into my theory?
I guess. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the season. I don't know. Good.
Yeah, so you mentioned DraftKings, Doug, and that is what we will primarily focus on here. But for me personally, I've really, with all the rake stuff, if you see like lower the rake on Twitter and things like that, like DraftKings rake is going through the roof. And the rake is essentially how much of your entry fees goes to DraftKings rather than the prize pool. So yes, we might see some overlay in the big tournaments, which I'll touch on in just a second. But I'm planning on playing my cash games over at Fantasy Draft. It's the exact same going as DraftKings. Like they literally copy their salaries, but just like double them. It's really kind of shady, but I personally like it because they have rake-free head-to-head. So that's a really cool little thing if you're looking to play cash this season. I'll be over there, so don't take my games, but you can pick up some other games. So yeah, I just wanted to get that off my chest because I'm pretty excited to see how that goes for me. Yeah, so we're looking at a monster opening slate for Wednesday. It's only 4 games. However, on DraftKings, there is a 44,000.
Yes.
Am I on the NHL? Okay. It's a 44,000 person tournament, $4 entry. And so, there's tons to be made. So, we'll probably cover both cash and GPPs. But on this slate in particular, it might be a go GPP heavy and then wait to play cash games on the bigger slate on Thursday. But I'll be doing both. So
We're all going to be doing both.
Yeah,
We're
we'll
all
be doing
addicts.
both.
It's not gambling if you're pretty sure you're going to win.
Yes.
It's how disappointed your mom is in you. That's really how you can tell.
That's probably the metric. Direct disappointment from family to how much money you enter. There's a correlation there.
All right. Do you want to start? Do we want to start at center? How do we want to do that?
The thing is, Matt, you just take it. What do you want to do?
Yeah, I think it's better if we just go position by position.
Yeah.
I feel like when we go game by game, it's insightful, don't get me wrong, but I don't think it really drills down to the point of what you're trying to do when you're like going through your process. So yeah, let's start at the center position. We have the class of the league with McDavid, Crosby, Matthews. I mean even Malkin's here. So I don't know, Doug, if you are starting your team with one of these centers, who are you going with?
All right. So, yeah, I think a lot of people are going to be having the question tomorrow of what if they're going to take a high-priced center, who are they going to play, whether it be Jesus himself, Crosby, Matthews, Malkin. But I think I like Crosby the most. I mean, a lot of what I do is based on the models. And the model of if you guys – here you go, shameless plug. Go to the website, and it already has the as we're recording this Tuesday night. We already have the model up for tomorrow. It'll update as the lines change, so be on the lookout for that. I don't know if you listen to it really early in the morning, it might not be changed yet. But getting closer to game time, I'll try to have it updated for you. But this year we're going to go with a style where we look at the frequency in which they exceed an expectation and then the magnitude in which they exceed that expectation. Crosby's highest among those 4 centers at the top in terms of how often he exceeds expectation, because NHL players a lot of the time they boom or bust, or at least partially like that. They like to score big amounts, and then even Crosby can score 0 points in a night, but maybe not 0, like 1 point or whatever. But yeah, so Crosby's the highest among those in terms of frequency that the sim likes, and then second highest in terms of raw output when he does produce, second to McDavid, but McDavid's frequency is a little bit lower. And that's based on just their positions, their previous stats, as well as Vegas lines. So as the Vegas lines move, those things could change. But right now, I've got my money on Crosby. I mean, he's 100 less than McDavid. I know Matt may have some things to say about that, and I can probably kick it over to Matt after I'm done. But yeah, I think Crosby is where I'm leaning. So Matt, why do you think I shouldn't take Sidney Crosby?
All right. Well, for me, I think I'm more interested in starting my lineups at the winger defense. just because I look at these matchups and I'm not in love with them. Like McDavid, don't get me wrong, like they're obviously fine plays, but McDavid's going up against maybe the best defense in the league in Calgary. I mean, that's a tough. I think that's a tough matchup for anyone. And then Crosby against St. Louis last year, when the top six was on the ice for St. Louis, they actually had like a sub-2 expected goals per 60 at 5-on-5. I should say against them, obviously. They just played a very low-danger game at both ends of the ice. And, clearly Crosby and McDavid have GPP upside, but for me, I'm just skipping them entirely. And this whole, this whole tier with Matthews and Malkin, I'm starting down cheaper just because I think there's a lot more centers that I like, and we can do more at the wing and deep position than, and otherwise. PJ, any thoughts on center?
I mean,
Top?
yeah, no, I think all four of them obviously are superstars in the league, and you never know on any given night. But I feel like if you're stacking, it's always an option to take any of these four with one of their top line mates. I mean, we are going to get McDavid, Draisaitl, so that's an extremely expensive way to spend up on center, and you're going to have to miss out on Burns and some of these great wingers. So that's going to be tough to stomach. Crosby, great with a guy like Connor Sheary or something, but again, really expensive. So it's going to be hard to get a good stack with them. And I think if I was going to take one alone in like a cash game, I don't know. I really am struggling right now to decide if I could take one just all alone in cash, but something about Matthews is speaking to me. And I don't know what it is yet.
And I just wanted to point out, like, I think we're all really excited about the sim being on the website. I want to point out, Doug was explaining it, and I think what my favorite aspect of it is that when you look at just raw projections, like the average output, like we did last year, and like so many sites do, it just really misses what the point of daily fantasy is, in my opinion. Like, there's so much more to it than just saying like, oh, he has the highest average projection, and then just like roll with it. So what this model is going to do is it's going to tell you, it'll tell you when someone has a great game, how well do they do, and how often do they clear that threshold. Like, that's not what you're getting when you look at just a raw average. And so I think it's going to be a fun balancing act between, fitting in those high upside guys or some of those, high floor guys, because it's not like you can make an entire lineup out of boom or bust guys, because the odds of that working are, pretty slim. So I think that's just my favorite aspect of it that I just wanted to really set in stone kind of in like a more verbose way.
You know what my favorite part is that it has Tanner Glass as like the worst player, and I think that's extremely accurate. And that's really all that matters, is that we know it's working if Tanner Glass at the bottom.
It's very true.
So all right, well, yes. Well, let's just enter into it though. I mean, I think center is. I think it's always really tricky. I really like Draisaitl. I know he's actually on the wing with McDavid, but at 6K, like I feel like that's a really reasonable price for him. Last year he ended the year, of course, this is playoff numbers, but he was 7K, and he was kind of always flirting around that range. So I think he's probably my favorite player near the top of the center pool. But Matt or Doug, I'll go with Matt first. Is there anyone else kind of in the more mid-tier range?
I totally agree. I think Draisaitl is a very strong like cash type play. For me, I think a secondary cash play would be Michael Backlund. I think that he's going to end up missing out on the McDavid line. McDavid tends to go out against other teams' top lines, and Sean Monahan, Johnny Gaudreau are clearly the top line there. Backlund's a little bit expensive, in my opinion. Like, I love his line mates a bit more than Backlund. So if I were, if I was starting a cash game with Flames, I think I would look to his wingers first. But I think I'll end up with at least one of Draisaitl, Backlund, or Kadri. Kadri's just my favorite Toronto line because I think Matthews is going to be piled on. And I think that Mark Scheifele is really underrated as like a shutdown defenseman. But Winnipeg's not that deep. And so I think that Kadri, with his power play time alongside Matthews and, running his own line of his own, is in a really sneaky spot, and he has a super high shot rate. But I think he's a high floor player that you're looking for in cash format at a very fair price of 5K.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Let me. I was just gonna say, actually, one thing that I remembered about what's on the website while you were talking was about ownership. You were saying that Matthews lineup we piled on. I am putting ownership up there, but I think it's important to note at the beginning of the season things can be a little bit wonky compared to what is expected, just because we were talking about earlier, salaries are down right now, so you can fit more players in, and I think that it's tough to see. People will start to grip on some narratives from last year a little stronger at the beginning of the year when there's no good, like solid last 10 game performance data. I noticed that the sim does a lot better job predicting ownership when there are like really strong defined last 10, last 15, last 30-day average changes. So like now when there's no average changes, like people, will think, oh, that Matthews was so great last year. He was the greatest rookie ever, and then he'll be 85% owned or whatever tomorrow because of it. So just to keep that in mind, don't take it with a grain, or do take it with a grain of salt tomorrow. But as far as mid-price, go ahead.
Okay, just one more thing. I think we can talk about the sim after this, like in terms of like nuts and bolts of it. But do keep in mind that prospects and young players without NHL background simply don't have the manpower or the ability to really use their juniors, AHL, compile all those and translate them to an NHL format or scoring system. So just keep in mind that you're going to need to artificially boost some of the younger guys we talk about, and use your own intuition versus just trusting what a model says about a young guy, because odds are it's not going to be that accurate.
No, most of them it gives no stats too, just because it knows, it can identify when it's not going to be able to make any sort of prediction. So it just spits out NA. So if you see that, that's the model's way of saying it gives up and that it doesn't even want to try to predict. So
Thanks, model.
Thanks a lot.
Yeah, so why don't we just, is there anyone else? I feel like we pretty much covered the main guys from up top that we were all interested in. One team that I feel like we didn't even touch on, though, is we have any interest in a guy like maybe Logan Couture. I know he's, slotted in on that first power play. I'd say reasonable price against Philly. Like, is there any interest in him right now? I know last year, definitely a down year compared to what I think a lot of people expected, but do you think maybe he could kind of come back into top tier range again?
If I was going to say someone instead of making my claim about ownership percentage, that's who I was going to say. Sim likes likes his upside. I don't think his ownership is going to be huge. There'll definitely be some potential to leverage him, but I think he's a decent option. I don't know if that's where I'm going to go necessarily, but I don't mind it. Matt, do you hate it?
Yeah, I can't in all good faith play Couture over Draisaitl given Draisaitl's role. But in a vacuum, that's not a bad play, I don't think.
So. Yeah, so I was just going to kind of say that, like, as far as GPP goes, if you maybe want to look to get contrarian in that spot, like, all of the money is going to be on Draisaitl, especially a lot of the newer players, especially. And do I think Draisaitl is better play? Yes, but maybe in GPP, if you really want to get contrarian, I think it's an option to stack with Burns, both on the point and the power play. That stack could end up going off and winning GPPs. You never do know. But we can.
Yeah.
That's more of like a.
Okay.
I'm done.
I'm just gonna go all the way down the list here and mention someone who, if you're looking to punt center entirely, Tage Thompson for St. Louis looks like he should be, in the opening night lineup. He's been practicing on the St. Louis Blues second power play unit. So I think I mentioned he is 2.5 on DraftKings, like the minimum salary, and he is a rookie drafted in 2016 out of Connecticut, and he played most of last year in the NCAA, so we don't really have like a full set of stats on him. But he was a point per game player in college. If he makes this lineup and plays power play time, like, there's certainly worse ways to spend your money than attacking the convert depth. So, any cheap centers that you guys are interested in otherwise?
Well, also, I'm hearing confirmed he is in the opening night lineup. Like that is confirmed.
Awesome.
So you don't have to guess anymore. I'm seeing definite, and I don't think there's anyone else. I think there was one other guy that Doug mentioned, Oscar Sundqvist, who is like also
Oh, yeah.
minimum salary, but I think at the same price, you kind of got to go Tage Thompson.
No, Tage is more, isn't he?
No, they're the same price on DraftKings.
They're both minimum.
So
okay.
I think you go
Oh, yeah,
Tage Thompson. Those
Yeah,
are the two,
no,
like minimum salary guys at center, unless if you're feeling real risky.
Yeah.
So let's move over to wing.
Yes, we can do that.
Yeah, so I think at the top, you guys are down for wing, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I am totally down.
All right, good. So yeah, over at wing, I mean, we got Lion, we got Tarasenko, we got Pavelski. Those are the top three in price. All of them, they feel a little bit low, but as we already mentioned, it's opening night. You know, it's kind of just a different feel. So they feel maybe a little bit cheap, but they're really kind of not comparatively to everyone else. I don't know how to describe it. The opening night just always kind of feels weird. Agreed?
Yeah.
As far as
it's
pricing
awkward.
goes, that's just how they're doing it.
You're trying to wade into a pool, but then you just decide that it's like, oh, all right, never mind, I can't wade in. I have to make my prediction just like every other night, but with less data.
Yeah, exactly. Like, everyone's a little bit cheaper. Like
The
all
wild speculine is running around.
Yes, everywhere. So anyone at the top here, I'm pretty sure, Matt, I'll throw it to you. Anyone at the top of the list that you're just all in on?
I am jamming in Tarasenko. I think he's better play than any of the centers that we are. Those top tier centers. Tarasenko has a ridiculously high shot rate, and higher than those 3 or 4 centers. And in addition, he's going to be relied on to do pretty much everything. You can't make that case for I guess McDavid kind of, but Crosby, Malkin, they really split duties, and then Matthews isn't even technically the first power play. They really split time. So I'm just gonna work off of that assumption that Tarasenko is gonna be out there when it absolutely matters in at least 21 minutes. Steen is out. They're really shallow in terms of forward depth. So I think this first line gets a ton of run. And I'm going to attack Pittsburgh early and often just because I don't think they have the defensive, I don't think they have the defensive bodies to really put a hold on anyone. So I think this is going to be relatively up-paced for the Blues. And that's why I just want to jam in Tarasenko, especially when I'm saving. I'm saving money on all those stud centers. So I'll go cheaper center, spend up on Tarasenko.
Do you like Tarasenko along with Sobotka?
Absolutely for PPPs. I think I'm actually more interested in stacking with Stastny at center, just because Sobotka does not look like he'll be on the first power play. But in cash games, I may end up going with Sobotka, Tarasenko, but I don't think that's very likely. I think there's enough value elsewhere. Sobotka's a really good play at 3.7.
Yeah, no, he's projected in the model a pretty high ownership percentage just because he's so low playing on such a good line. But the sim still seems to think that there's ownership to be had. He's still going to be undervalued just because of the position that he is in. He doesn't really need to do that much to break his salary expectation. And 23% is high, but he's only 3,700, so it barely puts a dent in your overall spending. So I'm interested in that. At least when I first looked at the sim, he's the highest value play, and I'm just wondering stacking him with Tarasenko because the sim loves Tarasenko too. So that's interesting.
Yeah, no, I think Spoke will be really highly owned. He definitely came in during the playoffs, and I remember he was kind of like our, kind of lock him in for cheap play because you're trying to get as much upper tier guys in the playoffs, it felt like, as possible. So I think a lot of people might be on him. I don't disagree with it, but he's not going to be correlating on the power play with Tarasenko, which is a bit of a downer.
Yeah, I just, even though, like I said, Tarasenko is probably going to play 20 minutes, I think he might rotate through some lines. I think he'll jump down onto Yaskin's role on the second line and play with Schwartz and Shen a bit. I think they're going to do some really fun things with Tarasenko. So I don't think that Sabotka is going to get 18 minutes or so. I could be wrong, but I'm just looking at his KHL numbers that he put up last year, and they're fine. Like, he had 40 points in 60 games when you look at regular season and playoffs. And he was playing 19 minutes a night, so he's not necessarily a high floor play. The best I can tell, it's right around average. So I don't think he's a must-play by any means, but definitely a fine one. So let's move on from Sabotka. Any top-tier guys that you think you're gonna be jamming in?
Who are you asking?
If either one of you wants to jump in, that would be perfectly fine by me.
Go ahead, DJ.
Oh, okay, fine. Thank you. I'm all about Line A. I really like him and Ellers as a combo. Those guys are just, I don't know. I think they're both like two of my favorite players, and that could be like clouding my judgment. I hope that doesn't happen too much this early in the year, but both of them are just fantastic, correlating all the way through power play, and on the same line. So those two are like the early on guys that I'm considering. I know I had numbers up, but then Corsica's completely crashed on me right now, and I really wanted to give good numbers like the other kids to be cool, but it just completely crashed and burned. So I'm gonna throw it to Doug while I try to get it back going again.
Yeah, I kind of like Pavelski over Line A. I think, he's only 100 more expensive, but I'm just looking at their stats comparison here. Pavelski had higher individual expected goals per 60 numbers last year. He shoots more often than Line A does. When I'm looking for a guy that I spend this much, I want to know that his floor is there with shooting, and his individual Corsi per 60 is higher. I don't know. The sim likes him more. That's why I looked it up. But that's one good thing that I like about the sim is it points out matchups where I'm like, hey, is Pavelski better here? But yeah, no, I sort of like Pavelski more than Line A in that spot. But they're definitely close. So
yeah, I think Line A is going to be incredibly popular. I want to see how that power play shapes up before I dive in on, especially in a cash game paying 7K. I think I'll just go with Tarasenko, but I don't even think it's confirmed that Line A is going to be on the point on a first power play unit. They might kind of do it last year and spread it out, which is pretty gross if you ask me. So if I'm looking for Winnipeg exposure, it's Ellers for me, or maybe Perreault. But yeah, I'll need to see Perreault is looking at power play one time, or how that if you don't really know, that's a problem. But I don't think I can spend that much for a bit of uncertainty in Line A.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I'm totally fine with going Voracek and Tarasenko and Ellers if you want exposure to that line. Voracek at a very big discount to Line A, I think, is in a really, really nice spot as well. Kind of the next guy on my list. I think maybe just is the sim that really likes him a lot, but I also think that he's just in a fantastic spot. I don't know. He's first line with Couturier and Gaudreau, first power play, and he just has such a monster shot that he could definitely go off on any night. And I think opening night GPP wise, he's definitely going to be a hot play.
I like that.
Yeah,
I was going to say, go ahead, Matt.
For me, there's too many good teams for me to go hunting and picking at Philly. I just don't think that's a great matchup for them. But I don't dislike your reasoning, but I'm just trying to keep my pool condensed as possible. And for me, I'm pretty sure no Philly player is going to cut into that pool.
Okay. All right. Anyone for a little bit cheaper and mid-tier range on wing? Doug, anyone you had in mind?
Not especially. I don't know. I really like Voracek there just because the sim did. I don't really have anyone
Parento?
that I.
You mentioned Parento though. Was that you? I mentioned Matthew. Perreault.
Oh my God!
I already did it. I already did it. No, that was on purpose. Perreault. You said Perreault, right? Did you mention him?
I'm hearing voices.
I am definitely. That's the one and only. The one and only time I'm doing that this year.
I'll take that bet.
Yeah, Perreault at 4.5 is fine, given that he'll be on the first line with Scheifele and Wheeler. But for me, I'm all about the 3M's line for Calgary. And I mentioned Backlund earlier, Kachuk and Frolik are 4.5 and 4.2. and they're basically, they're like a light version of the Bergeron Marchand line, but like it's not even that light of a version. Like they dominate possession. They all have extremely, they have good shot rates, and they should be playing on the power play. I know DJ was telling me that he's seeing Frolik as like not being on the power play. He might do something stupid like that because that's just what the Flames tend to do. But I think Matthew Tkachuk at 4.5 is an outstanding play, and he's perfect exposure to a line that I really want in cash games because I think that the 3M's line is going to dominate Nugent Hopkins and his, whoever he's playing on the line with. Speaking of who he's playing on the line with,
Are you? Oh, is that to me? Kyler Yamamoto?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say it. I thought you cut out. And I was like, oh, you didn't. Right.
He wanted
I
it
thought
so
you cut
bad.
out there.
What do we know about Kyler Yamamoto?
Are you asking? All right, Matt, I thought you wanted to take back over. I was trying to like throw it back to you there.
Oh, okay. But yeah, Yamamoto is a boss. Can you look up? I mean, he was drafted this year, right? Like that.
Yeah, he was like 14 or 15, but I can look it up.
Okay. Yeah, so he's like the main knock on him was that he's like a bit undersized. I think he's like 5'8" and
5'8", 155 pounds.
He like crazy.
Whoa.
Like he's really small.
22nd overall.
Like,
my bad.
Liar.
Listening to McClellan talk about him in the preseason, like he was extremely impressed. He said that he was not planning on putting him in the lineup, but like he forced him to keep him around essentially, and he's in a top 6 role right now. So, looking at the WHL statistics, and a really cool site to do that at, by the way, is prospect-stats.com. They have 2016 stats, 2015 stats for 3 main Canadian junior leagues, the USHL and the AHL. And they have things like shots per game, primary points per game, like things that you're not going to find on individual league websites. So, be sure to check that out. And also, looking at the WHL, last year, Kyler Yamamoto, in terms of primary points per game, was 3rd in the entire league. The only names ahead of him were Sam Steele and I forgot to look it up, but I think it's Logan Verrett, or it was Sam Steele center, basically. So, 2 guys who obviously played off of one another. And Yamamoto right there behind them just owned the league last year. So he certainly has offensive upside. And, for 3K, you can definitely do worse than getting a piece of, an Edmonton team for pretty cheap.
Yeah, that's definitely a really nice punt to throw in the mix. Was there any other punts we wanted to key in on? I know there's a lot of guys that I really was hoping would be in better spots. I'm a huge fan of Timo Meier. I think we all are. I mean, you look up his stats, he just kind of projects so nicely to be a really big DFS contributor, but him on the 3rd line, and I think he's on the 2nd power play unit. It's like, I don't know. It's an option, I guess, but it's just not the ideal spot I was hoping for. It was really.
I think that's a relatively strong cash play. Even in limited minutes, like last year, he can still get you 3 to 4 shots a game. He might even average like 3 shots in the normal matchup. So he is an extremely high floor player, like in terms of his price. I'm not sure if the upside is there to really, worth throwing him in, except maybe like with a solo Brent Burns and just hope they hook up at 5-on-5. But I'm certainly considering Timo Meier for cash games, but I think I'll end up on Yamamoto instead.
Yeah, me too. That's kind of what I'm thinking as well. It's kind of why it's like taking the lightning out of him, because you got Yamamoto probably in a better spot.
Right.
I mean, I wouldn't say it's like definitely a better spot, but wait till tomorrow. Check the lines again. Make sure something crazy doesn't happen, and Timo Meier ends up on the 1st power play instead of Mikhail Boddicker, which is what they have now, which is not the optimal situation I was hoping for.
For sure. All right, Doug, any more wingers you want to talk about before we go to defense?
We were talking before about Jágr. What do we know about him versus Brouwer? Or is Brouwer going to play?
It looks like. So I heard that Brouwer's like on the trade block.
Yeah.
but Yager shouldn't play. Like, I think it's like maybe a 2% chance he plays. Like I'm not seeing anything about him, so I'm thinking he's still like beating the Calgary and whatnot. And there's certainly in no rush to rush him in because the dude's 45. So I would expect Troy Brouwer to play on the power play, but he is like completely worthless. So there's no play him in daily fantasy.
A lot of facts coming out of you right now, Matt. I like the takes. I like him a lot. Do we want to move over to defense? Because I think I'm pretty much out. I mean, did you want to mention Jordan Wheel, Matt, or is that more of like a pre-podcast? You just wanted to say something.
He's actually listed as a center, so I don't think he's nearly as valuable.
Oh, really?
I haven't looked at FanDuel, but if Jordan Wheel is on FanDuel as a winger, he could potentially be a play just because he has a strong shot rate and he's playing alongside Nolan Patrick. So that could be a fun little, center wing stack for super cheap.
Yeah, and they're both slotted on the second power play unit as of daily faceoff. But then again, I'm not 100% in love with trusting that right now, so definitely double check that.
Yeah, and power play stuff will be tough to get this early. So I would, try to look through the Twitters of these beat writers, but it's not all that likely. You'll see something, set in stone. So defense, I think I've already pretty much laid it out. Like I'm playing Tarasenko and Brent Burns and kind of going cheaper at center and the rest of my wing spots because I think the value's there. But Doug, are you going to be playing Brent Burns in your cash games?
I will be playing Brent Burns in my cash games. He's an animal. I don't think 7.9 is very expensive for him at all. I think that there is so much talent in it. I think there's so much high price talent that I don't think that his ownership percentage will be crazy. I think it'll be probably pushing 30%, but I don't think that it'll be necessarily as high as it could be. And I don't think that's going to match his actual expectation for how many points that he could put up. So I'm not scared of that at all. I think he's going to have a monster game. I'm going to be playing him in all formats.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think Brent Burns is a lock. I think he's definitely stackable with a ton of guys that we've already mentioned earlier, and I'm pretty much going to have him in all of my lineups. I don't know. This slate just feels Brent Burnsy.
Really, I think the kind of, I don't think we're going to be playing Chris Letang or Petrangelo, or as much as it pains me to say it, like I think Dougie Hamilton's cheap enough where like it's not that big of a difference. But 2,000 on DraftKings between Byfuglien and Burns. We mentioned in the Central Division preview that Byfuglien is, pretty much primed for a regression year. And I mean, going up against Toronto, like on the first, day of the season, like that is the fantasy typically just because the pace is so high, their defense is pretty weak, and Winnipeg's also at home, which I mean will help in terms of, penalties and general, winning, like that sort of thing. Like Byfuglien should be, 25 minutes a night, should be power play 1. I think there's a case to be made for fading Burns and saving the 2,000 on Byfuglien. I think that's kind of contingent on you saying, all right, I'm just jamming in McDavid. I'm jamming in, McDavid or Crosby, and kind of working from there. But I don't think I'm going to do it myself, but that's really the only case I can see to not play Brent Burns here.
I'm going to play Brent Burns.
I'm definitely – yeah. Oh, sorry, Doug, go.
No, that's all I was going to say is you can't make a case. I'm going to play him.
Yeah, no, I think if you're really going to stack up on Winnipeg, if you just got that Winnipeg stack going on, like it's an option. But I really think in cash, you can get Burns and Byfuglien in there. I think it's possible.
Really?
I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't think it might not lead to the most optimal cash lineup, but I did build a lineup right now with both of them.
All right, at the end
but
of the
it's
show,
not quite complete. We're not there yet. We're not there. Can I have a couple more minutes? Right. We'll keep going through the defensemen, and then I will build. I already am building a cash lineup, and then you guys can critique it at the end.
Okay. Well, DJ, you wanted the floor. Who's your top mid-tier defenseman?
All right. So I would say if you're not gonna play, man, it really is tough. I really like Klefbom and Trouba, and they're the same price, and I think I'm leaning towards Trouba. Just based off kind of the metrics I was looking at Corsica before it crashed and I cannot get it back. Next podcast, I promise to have more numbers lined up. I did have a test before we recorded tonight, so really tough to do research while you're taking an exam. But he ended the season averaging at least 23.5 minutes. He had a few 5-shot on goal games. I really just think against Toronto, we talked about it a lot last year. I'll bring it up again early on. Like, they do end up producing a lot more kind of Corsi opportunities for the opposing team as well as themselves with the way they play. And I always love those prime spots for different players against them, which is why I think I'm a bit bullish on Winnipeg going into this, just kind of recency bias maybe from last year. But then again, I think Toronto's pretty weak defensively. And then Clefbaum, he really stacks up well with Draisaitl, McDavid, etc. But I am going to want to see it from him before I really start to just jam him in. I want to see how they're going to use him to start the year exactly. And just kind of, I don't know, this is kind of a new look Edmonton team a little bit. So I think I'm leaning towards Trouba out of anyone in the mid-tier.
I think I agree with you. Like, if I'm looking in this range for like cash, I think that's kind of how I'm doing my podcast, focusing more on cash game formats. Obviously, Clefbaum's fine, stack with McDavid given the power play. And then I think one more name that I think is going to go super low owned is Pietrangelo. He'll be the power play one guy. Shattenkirk's gone, remember? I mean, he was gone at the trade deadline last year, but it's pretty easy to forget. Like, he'll be on the first power play. He stacked up great with Tarasenko. And, Pittsburgh is kind of like Toronto in that they play a really high-paced game. Pietrangelo is going to get a ton of minutes, could pick up some blocks. And I really like him for GPPs.
I hate him.
Your mid-range guy?
Yeah, I was kind of in the same battle as DJ was in terms of, is Trouba or Clefbaum better? The sim likes Clefbaum, gives the edge to Clefbaum by a little bit, but I mean, looking at the stats, it's pretty close. I mean, Trouba shoots the puck a little bit more, and I think the matchup is a lot better for them in terms of pace. But Clefbaum, I think, has maybe a little bit bigger of an upside. No, I think I'd lean Trouba there, but the sim does like Clefbaum a little bit more. But those are the two that I'd be looking at. I think that you hit the nail on the head with Bufflin as well. So that's sort of where I'm at.
Okay.
All right.
And
I think we nailed every. Oh, sorry, Matt. I was gonna throw it to you for the cheap guy. So, Matt.
Yeah. I was. If you guys have anyone else, you can shut in afterwards. But for me, I think the punt defenseman du jour is someone named Vince Dunn, who, I will be honest, I had not heard of him until I started digging into the slate and reading. But he made the team for the St. Louis Blues, obviously going up against Pittsburgh, and he is 20 years old. Last year in the AHL, as a 19-year-old, he almost had 2.5 shots per game as a defenseman. That's pretty good. And currently he is listed on the third pair, but the second power play unit. So if you're playing someone like Vladimir Sobotka, that could be a nice little spot for some correlation. And I'm going to use him just as a salary saver because I think that he is the most likely to, route 2 or 3 shots with the outside chance of getting a point. And then you never know, just given, defensive nature, if he could pick up a few block shots. Like, I think he's kind of in a can't miss spot, like, just because of I don't think there's too many other really cheap defensemen that you can just pull out punt with. And then just one more thing, looking up Vince Dunn, Brandon Montour, who we're going to talk about a lot this year, but looking at the same thing, shots per game in the AHL last year, in 36 games, Brandon Montour had over 4 shots per game, which blew everyone else out of the water for defensemen in the AHL. So it's just a really cool stat I stumbled across, and I love Brandon Montour, so I just wanted to bring that up. But yeah, Vince Dunn, Brandon Montour, but just not quite as good.
Okay. Yeah, no, I think that pretty much sums it up. Do we have anything to say about goalies, or should I get right to my cash game lineup I just built on DraftKings?
Can I mention Vlasic? I think Vlasic is.
Well, Vlasic, yeah, sure. The Pickles.
Yeah, he's only playing. He's only 3,800 on DraftKings. Playing looks like power play 2. He's listed as right now, so he is one of the Sims' highest choices in terms of frequency that he meets his expected value. So, I mean, at 3,800, they're setting the bar pretty low, and I think that he'll probably get there. I think all he needs is a couple shots to break that. So he's a cheap defenseman that I'm really looking into. But DJ, go ahead, give us your Bufflin Burns.
Oh wait, why don't we build one together? What's the
Well,
fun in this?
All right,
We're not
fine.
even
We'll build it
friends.
together. I already built one. Can I just do mine? Come on, man. Please. All right. So then we can build one.
I gotta dust off my DraftKings account.
Okay. Are you ready? Okay. Leon Draisaitl, Nazem Kadri, Vladimir Tarasenko, Timo Meyer, Kyler Yamamoto, Brent Burns, Dustin Bufflin, Jake Allen. And then for utility, we had 4K. So I threw in Nolan Patrick for now. I honestly don't know who I'd go with at 4K. So Nolan Patrick, he is power play 1, power play 2, but we don't really have much on him other than what he did in the WHL, correct? And I think he
Right.
projects out nicely. He forced himself onto this team. Matt, I think you might want to say he was the best player in the draft last year, so I'm fine with it. What do you guys think of that? And then do we want to build one?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how his DFS profile is going to look. We didn't really get too much of a sample of his, last year and juniors because of his injuries. So, I'm definitely not overly bullish on like playing in DFS. But with that said, 4K for someone as talented as he is, like I think it's worth a shot, but not something I'll be doing right away.
Yeah. Okay, but overall the lineup.
I mean, I think for me, I want Kachuk in there as one of the cheap wingers, and I think that's going to kind of take some sacrifices because you'll need to find that 500 somewhere. Also, I think Jake Allen is like crazy, especially if you're playing cash games, just because how explosive, how explosive Pittsburgh is, and I don't think they'll dominate shots on most nights.
Perhaps.
I think for me, just because I'm not on any Philly guys, and even the 4-game slate, I'll probably just be jamming in Martin Jones and just hoping that I'm right. So, I think that's really my main goalie take for right now. But
let's just build a lineup then. We'll put in Martin Jones and we'll redo this really quick, and then we'll sign off.
All right.
I'm down for that.
That sounds pretty good.
I'm going to throw in Martin Jones, and are we throwing in Burns?
Yes.
And is there anyone else we have to have?
Doug, who are you gonna? Doug, you get the next pick. So just.
Oh yeah, I forgot. We used to go around in a circle and do it. I got you now. What about Trouba?
Ooh.
Take
our
defenseman and our goalie before we pick anyone else.
All right, Matt.
He was just who I had in my lineup already. So.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Kachuk. I think his price is awesome and his spot is pretty nice. So.
All right, he is in. All right, I'll go Leon, the king of Leon Draisaitl.
Think that. So
do we want to go Tage Thompson potentially?
I don't think so.
Yeah, we don't really know, but
I don't think we need that. We'll see.
We'll see. Doug?
Maybe.
I'm trying to fill in what we had already. All right, so we are. So what position are we looking for? We probably need another mid-priced center.
Sure.
I think another mid-priced wing would be the kind of the prerogative right now, but.
Okay, how about? Who are you thinking? You can skip me. I'll go next.
All right. I want Nick Ehlers. Give me that line exposure, save a bit of money, and just a really explosive player with a strong shot rate. So.
Okay. Want me to throw in Yamamoto maybe to save him some cap? And I feel like we actually have some stats on him that show that he could end up being a decent floor player right off the bat.
I like that.
Yeah, that's fine.
Or no?
All right. Yeah, no, that's fine. So we have 5K left
for
average
center.
For a center and a utility. Doug, who are you thinking?
Let me look in this lower tier here. I think I want to make okay, let's take Vlasic with our utility at defense.
Oof,
Make a
bold.
statement about the fact that you should be taking 3D in cash. At least I think you should be, because D are much more. They are much more consistent.
Okay. I mean, I'm okay
Yeah,
with
no,
it.
I can take that line of thinking.
He
So
will
for,
block shots, and he will.
center-
I would project him around 2.5, 3 points, decently safe.
yeah, so we would have 6.2 left. That leaves us in the range of Giroux, Couture, Monahan, Shen. So I don't think we're going to finish this lineup just because
Yeah.
legal purposes. If I were looking at it, I'm kind of looking at Petrangelo getting that Tarasenko power play exposure, and I really like the matchup. It's the same philosophy of 3 defense and cash, and then that leaves us in the area of Nugent Hopkins, Couturier, Hurdle, Patrick. So I think both of those ways would be pretty strong ways to close out that lineup. But all right.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I don't know. It's not coming out the way I thought it might come out perfectly. Like, it didn't do exactly what I wanted it to do.
That's why we
but
still
it's
got
okay.
24 hours.
All right. So with that note, I think we're good to go on this podcast. I mean, it's only 4 games. We probably went for about an hour. So we gave the people what they needed.
Yeah, we did pretty good on time, I think. So
Yeah.
Let us know if there's things that you would rather hear or a different format that you'd rather hear. I think we talked about that a little bit last year and asked people, but yeah, just like, what is it that the people want to hear? We're here to give the people what they want. So let us do that for you.
All right, so we'll finish with our shameless plug. Basically, follow us on Twitter at Morningscape Pod. Comment, rate, subscribe, do all of these things, please, and thank you. And then check out Morningscape Pod. You're gonna want to throw that right in your bookmarks, your favorites, whatever you use. It's gonna want to live in there, probably as your top thing, and maybe even as your homepage. You're gonna want to check the sim. If you have questions about the sims, concerns, comments, I have one spot for you to go right to the sources on it. You can join us on GroupMe. I think we had 4 members join today. So direct message Morningscape Pod, or you can just tweet at us, whatever. Download the GroupMe app, and yeah, just kind of let us know what your email is or username, and we'll throw you in. Other than that, Matt, anything you have to say before we head off?
No, just check out morningscapepod.com. We're really excited about the stuff we're rolling out. It's all free. So, we're just really excited to kind of get this show on the road, and we really look forward to your feedback. So, it's just really good luck, guys. It's going to be a long season, so I'm just really excited to get this thing on the road. So, for Doug, for DJ, for myself, have a good slate, everyone, and we will see you.